I think there's three different things that typically a victim could do. I mean, you make a choice early on, and those choices in my case were roll up in a ball and do nothing. Obviously, suicide was a real consideration for me because I couldn't imagine my life without my children, or just trying to slowly pick up the pieces and move forward.
As the director of a domestic violence center, I can see a myriad of uses for this book. I can see victims utilizing this book in group settings to really delve into the process of what healing and grieving look like, particularly since the book was written from a perspective of two different survivors who had very different healing journeys. But more importantly, at large, I think that the community needs to read this book because the journey of the victim is so individual. And it's something that we don't talk about in our society, how victimization impacts human beings and impacts communities.
We wrote the book because we were both huge fans of TV shows like Dateline, and we also read a lot of crime stories. And as you read the stories, there's three major components, and that's the crime itself, the investigation, and then the trial. Nancy and I both wondered, well, whatever happened to the crime victim? So we thought, while it's important to understand the crime and the investigation, the journey's forever, and we wanted people to know what that journey was like in the immediate aftermath, as well as 5, 10, 15, and in my case, 20 years later. The journey is forever, and we wanted people to understand what that journey was like and to offer tools where they could help others through the loss of something similar. And we also wrote it to show that, you know, as human beings, we're capable of living through and transcending the most horrific events. This book would be extremely beneficial to victim service programs who work with victims on a daily basis. To give this book out to them or to share it with other crime victims. For them, one, it teaches what the journey looks like, what the impact is about, but it also validates what these individuals are feeling. And that's huge, to know that I'm not alone in this. And what Lynn felt, wow, I'm feeling a lot of similar, I'm experiencing a lot of the same feelings. So I think from a victim survivor perspective, that's huge.
I think the book is valuable to a number of audiences. It's often said that it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to be able to help a victim through a healing process. So by having prosecutors read this book, by having individuals in the court system, by having police officers, by having victim service personnel, and by having even victims themselves read the book, I think it's a really valuable tool in that healing process. And it's important that as communities we strategize ways to better take care of one another. I've had the experience of working with Lynn Shiner and Nancy Chavez for a number of years, and both of them have been very committed to making sure the voices of victims are present in communities. One project that we worked on together was the Survivor Speakers Bureau, where individuals across the state were trained to share their stories. I think this book in some ways is a natural outgrowth of that project and another venue in which survivors can share their story.